While we've got you then, and you are clearly a professional agent who has the systems and the processes, can you share with us some little tips or a few little ideas? How do you get your house ready to sell so that you can avoid some of these types of issues? You don't run into them.
For sure, yeah. Number one thing, right, hire that professional agent. But really what you're looking for is, do you have a system of due diligence prior to the marketing of the house for sale? And so what we do is we start with the thing that is the biggest Achilles heel of issues in real estate, the thing that is the most difficult to overcome if something should rear its little head, and that is called a title search. A title search is something typically that cannot always be fixed quickly. I can give you some examples. So we were hired to sell a property for some heirs. They hired us in March, of this year. We're 6 months past March. We are still unable to market this home because of the title issue. That's the significance of this, right? It's not like, oh, it's not such a big deal. We'll just scratch this off, get it initialed, and everything will be, just fine. It just doesn't work that way with title. So we could sell the home in one day. I have no question about that. It's a great property in a great location, but that title issue is just killing us. And so the reason that we cannot we can't sell that to a new potential owner, because it's created this thing called a cloud on the title. So here, that's just one example. So open lines of credit that actually haven't been what we call satisfied with the registered deeds office. That can create a title issue. So what that looks like is usually it's what we call a HELOC, but it's a home equity line of credit. You've used it, you've paid it off, it's a zero balance. It was 14 years ago, but the bank that you utilized that for didn't go in and record something that says, hey, this is paid in full and the account's closed. It creates that cloud on the title. Encroachments, just like we discussed, your fence is on somebody else's property or your neighbor's fence is on your property, that's an encroachment. That also is a title issue. And one of the common responses we get from owners is, well, it was that way when I bought it, Keith.
It doesn't
understood.
Yeah.
Our response is, this is why within our company, this is why we recommend maybe 3, probably 4 times during the process of you buying a home that you should get a survey, because a survey will uncover these encroachments, these issues, and also prevent these problems from happening. So what happens if you don't get a survey? You get what's called title insurance. If you've got a loan, you have it because all banks require it. But what they do is they omit, or they take the coverage away from boundary issues. So they say, well, we're going to cover your title. Everything that's good or bad about your title is insured. However, since you didn't get a survey, if your fence, your garage, or anything you own is on your neighbor's or your neighbor's is on yours, we don't cover that because you did not get the survey. So when you buy a home, I highly recommend that you get a survey, because that is a protection thing there. But we've found other things. We've found deeds that were recorded that only one of the owners signed. Maybe it was one of the spouses or one of the owners or whatever, and somehow it got recorded, and somehow 50% of the people that own it didn't sign. That's an issue, right? Going back to the survey, there's a thing in real estate called your legal description. It basically is the verbiage of how your little rectangle, little world of your property lines up. Well, we know that clearly from your fence in your backyard, this is how big it is. But on paper, there's only 3 sides to the rectangle. Something got omitted. We've had this one happen to where the closing attorney made a mistake. They just transcribed the numbers wrong. Your home's on lot 19, but they recorded the deed on lot 91. Now, doesn't sound like a big deal. It's a typo. It's a bigger deal than that. How it gets fixed is the issue. So what we have to do is we have to track down the owner that you bought that home from. And then we have to get the attorney to prepare what's called a correction deed to be recorded. And so, that was 16 years ago. The owner of the house has an AOL email address, Keith. They moved out of state, and we don't have a forwarding address or a phone number because it was 16 years ago. Oh, but wait, there's more. They've actually moved twice since then. We knew that we were pretty sure they moved to Florida, but now we track them down finally, and they're in Arizona and retired. Because why? Because it was 16 years ago. This is why we do the due diligence that we do, is because, think about this, those things don't get fixed quick. I mean, it's taken me months sometimes to find the previous owner to get a correction deed because it's time. Most people don't buy their house and then next month sell it. You've been there for 10 or 12 or 15 years. The longer you've been in there, sometimes the harder it is to correct these things, especially if we have to track down the people, right? And so this is the result of what I've seen over the years is when you do things fast, things get missed. And, think about it. This is a big deal because the way that real estate closings in North Carolina work is if you have a loan, your lender requests basically what's called a title binder, and that's the trigger for that attorney, your closing attorney, to do the title search. The problem is a lot of times that's within 3 to 5 days of you closing. So think about it. This is 3 to 5 days from when you're going to buy this house. So you sold your house, or you thought you did. All your stuff's on a moving truck. You're ready to go. I mean, you are days away from the closing, moving on to your next adventure. You're excited about everything, only to find out this issue. Oh, and by the way, you need the money from the house you're selling to buy your next house, which happens to be your dream house, and you're stuck. Mm. And if this title issue can't be fixed quickly, which in my experience, most of the time they're not, you have to move back in your house. And then you have to tell all your neighbors, what are you doing? You put all your stuff on a truck and now you're moving it back? What's going on? Doesn't make any sense, right? And and there's some people that can afford to buy 2 homes, and it's not the same for everybody, but most of the time that's not the case. And here's the thing. You're in breach of contract. So then it goes back to what I said before. You've got to give all that money back to the buyer. Oh, by the way, all their stuff's on a moving truck too, because they were ready to move into your house. And so not only are you moving back in, you're paying the buyers all the damages of everything because they can't buy your house, you're in breach, and you lost your dream house, all because of a simple title search step, all of which could have been avoided if you'd have hired a professional agent that would have discovered all this before you went